Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking to get a new vehicle, I know that everyone is saying that the vehicle market as far as prices should be coming down soon. But make sure that you get a new vehicle before 2026. And the reason is because although this is an oldie, it's a great reminder that a bill, which was the infrastructure bill, I believe, that was passed about a year and a half, 2 years ago, is a bill that is going to mandate that car manufacturers start putting devices in your vehicles to detect whether you are drunk or whether you've been drinking, and then to furthermore assist you in not driving that vehicle in case you have been. Now, do I think it's a good idea to drink and drive? Absolutely not, ladies and gentlemen. As a matter of fact, whenever we have a Friday live stream, I always end off that live stream with doing a safety brief, and that safety brief always includes don't drink and drive. The question is, once they intrude into your life while you are driving, what else can they do? Can they turn your vehicle off? How is the vehicle going to not allow you to drive it if you are above the limit? How many people actually get into accidents every year because of drunk driving? Now, I understand that this can be a very emotional subject matter for people that have lost friends or family due to drunk drivers. But when you're talking about there being over 100 million vehicles on the road in the United States of America, and I would assume over 100 million licensed drivers, that the 9 or 10,000 fatalities that occur is going to now affect every single person that drives, as far as what they have to do in order to drive, and as far as having to expend the extra cost, the extra dollars that is going to cost you, because of course this technology doesn't come for free. And who pays for it in the end? Of course, ladies and gentlemen, the average Joe on the street will pay for it, not only in ways of intrusion into your freedoms and liberties, but also intrusions into your pocketbook or your pocket or your wallet, whatever it is that you use. And I know that was a very long introduction. So in this video, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the section of that infrastructure bill that they just conveniently pushed in. What does this really have to do with infrastructure? Ask yourself. What is a bill that has already been made law, all right? And the deadline will be coming up here in a couple more years. In less than 2 years, I would say the deadline is coming up, where manufacturers have to go to this system where they input these technologies in the vehicles that you will be buying starting in 2026 or so. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what does that do for our infrastructure? And that is why our democracy is no longer really a democracy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, because how can you vote for something when a small section of it, a page and a half of a 1,000 plus page bill that's signed into law, how can you vote for something when you didn't even know that that was in that bill before it turned into law? So we don't have a democracy. A democracy is when the people, we the people, are able to say, yes, we want that to be law by a majority, which I don't even agree with that, because in that case, majority rules. 51% of the people, or 50.1% of the people in a democracy, can tell the other 49.9% how they can live their lives. But I digress. If you were to ask 100 people on the street that drove a vehicle on a regular basis, if you were to ask them, all right, so starting in 2026, before you can start your vehicle, you're going to have to take a breathalyzer, right? And you're going to have to pay more for vehicles now because, the manufacturers are going to have to insert this technology into your vehicle, so you're going to have to pay more for it, and now you're going to have to do a breathalyzer every time you step into that vehicle and go to start it. What would you think? How many of them do you think would say, that's a great idea? That is a great idea. What happens if that breathalyzer breaks down? What happens if it breaks? Now what are you going to do? Ladies and gentlemen, what happens if there's an emergency and you have to get in that vehicle and drive it and that breathalyzer is not working? These are the first, second, third order effects that they don't think about. They only think about the portion that is controlling. Yes, you're not going to get in that vehicle and drive if a sense of alcohol is detected in your breath, right? That's the part that controls you, is the one that they think about, but they don't think about the other parts. What if for some reason the technology that they use to turn your vehicle off or to not allow you to continue to drive, for some reason that malfunctions while you're driving and you're in the middle of a busy highway? So if you take a look at this right here, this is the portion of the bill. It's section 24220, and it's the advanced impaired driving technology. And man, ladies and gentlemen, they have artists working in government, because the people that come up with these names, they are very talented in coming up with these names that just make things sound so very good. And I almost never use this term, but I think it goes something like this. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I usually am. But the term goes something like, the road to hell is always paved with good intentions, something like that. And that's exactly what this is. This is not going to do any good for anyone, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see, the findings of Congress, which means that this is why they're doing this. This is why they're bringing this bill forward. Alcohol impaired driving fatalities represent approximately 1/3 of all highway fatalities in the United States each year. And one death is way too many, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely. But remember what they say here is 1/3. Right? In 2019, so they picked 2019 to go back to do this, there were about 10,142 alcohol impaired driving fatalities in the United States involving drivers with a blood alcohol concentration level of 0.08 or higher. And 68% of those were even higher, 0.15% alcohol concentration level in their blood. Right? The estimated economic cost for alcohol impaired driving in 2010, they went all the way to 2010 for this one, was $44 billion. And then, according to the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, advanced drunk and impaired driving prevention technology can prevent more than 9,400 alcohol impaired driving fatalities annually. It can prevent it, but will it? So we're going to pass a law that's going to affect every single driver in the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to affect how much everyone that wants to purchase a new vehicle is going to pay for that vehicle. Right? And they don't even know if it will prevent one case. But what if I were to get someone from the bar that wasn't drinking, right? And I have them blow in my little thing for my vehicle. And then I get behind the wheel and start driving it and cause an accident. Meaning that there's always a way to get around it. Or maybe they're going to include, as part of their technology, maybe they're going to include biometrics. So now are you going to be required to do a fingerprint or a thumbprint or whatever it is, or a facial recognition to your vehicle before you can even blow into it? Who knows, ladies and gentlemen? Because they haven't said in this bill that has been passed into law, they haven't said exactly what it is that they're going to do. They just said technologies, advanced technologies. But what are they exactly? But this is law now, right? And the last reason, number 5, to ensure the prevention of alcohol impaired driving fatalities, advanced drunk and impaired driving prevention technology must be standard equipment in all new motor vehicles. In all new motor vehicles, ladies and gentlemen. And from what I understand is that when this law was passed, when this bill was passed into law, it gave everyone until 2024, all of the manufacturers until 2024, so that they can go ahead and have this done. But if it wasn't done until 2024, by the end of 2023, really, right? If it wasn't done by the end of 2023, then they had a 3-year grace period to comply before they had to start giving answers to the government. Hey, why haven't you done this? And I don't know. I didn't see anything in writing that says that they were going to be fined or anything like that. Now, the portion that I just read off of the bill, ladies and gentlemen, some of the information came off of this page right here. And this is from NHTSA. All right, alcohol impaired driving. All right, and some of the information that they got, that they put on that bill as to why it is that we should be doing this, came from this site. And I want to show you here that maybe they did a little bit of cherry picking themselves when they decided to share the information with you, the people, or with we, the people, in putting the reasons why they needed this bill to go through. Key findings in this study. In 2019, there were 10,142 fatalities in motor vehicle traffic crashes in which at least one driver was alcohol impaired, right? And this totaled 28% of all traffic fatalities for the year, right? So they got this off of there, pretty much, it's verbatim. But here it says there, they didn't put this on the bill. Fatalities in alcohol impaired driving decreased by 5.3% from 2018 to 2019. So they didn't tell you that, yeah, the crashes decreased. So why are we looking at doing this when there's actually a trend that maybe we may be getting better? Why don't we look and see why they decreased and maybe work on that? All right, so they didn't share that. And this is the one that they didn't share that they should have really shared right here, because this one right here says it all. The percentage of alcohol impaired drivers involved in a fatal crash in 2019 was the highest for motorcycle riders. Are motorcycles going to have a device, an advanced technological device that will determine whether they're incapacitated or not? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. But motorcycle drivers were 29%. So they were the highest class of drivers that were impaired in 2019, right? Compared to drivers of passenger vehicles, passenger cars, was only 20%. Light trucks, 19%. And large trucks, 2%. So wouldn't it make more sense that if you were going to implement this kind of a study, that you would implement it with the type of vehicle that gets in the most accidents because people who are driving them are impaired? I don't know. I don't have all the answers, ladies and gentlemen. But to me, what it seems like is that when you take the numbers, and again, all right, I'm trying to be sensitive to those out there that have lost people in accidents because of drunk drivers, right? Because there's 10,000 back in 2019. I'm sure that the numbers are pretty much the same for last year, right? Trying to be sensitive. But when you take a number of 10,000 and you divide it by the number of vehicles that are on the road in America, so it's actually a little bit more cars on the road than what I thought. According to Statista here, the number of vehicles in operation in the United States between the first quarter of 2018 and the fourth quarter of 2022, just a few months ago, is 285 million. But let's not even take it that far. Let's just go 200 million. So let's take 10,500, let's say, okay? I think it was 10,142, but let's take 10,500. And let's divide it by half of what they're telling us. They're telling us 285 million vehicles on the road. Let's go ahead and divide that number by 140 million. With a problem that is causing accidents in the rate of 0.0075% of the total number of vehicles on the road, which, remember, I only use half of the numbers that they gave me, okay? But let's say that instead of 285, it's 140 million. So I use less than half of the number. Do you really think that the government ought to be working on some things that are maybe a little more important than this? Something that's going to cost you time, it's going to cost you money, and it's going to cost you grief. And I'm sure that these technologies, I'm not an expert in this stuff, I'm just using my common sense. I'm sure, as I was explaining before, that these technologies that they're going to add to our vehicles, which we don't really know what they are yet, right? These technologies will probably end up costing lives, because I guarantee you there's going to be people out there that need to get somewhere in a hurry, because it's going to be a life-threatening situation, who won't be able to, because these devices are going to fail and are going to make their vehicles not run the way that they're supposed to. But there is hope, because eventually this will all be done with. Eventually we will go back to being free. And for those of you that think that freedom is easy, it's not. Freedom is not easy. Freedom is you being able to live with the consequences of your decisions. So if you go out there and drink and drive, and you get in an accident and you kill someone, yes, you're going to live with those consequences. But what you have to think about, ladies and gentlemen, before you get behind the wheel drunk, what you have to think about is this. Before you put yourself in a situation where you may drive behind the wheel drunk, which it is not the government's problem to make sure that you don't put yourself in that situation. It's your problem. You're the one that has to make sure to mitigate those things. Before you do that, think of all of the lives that you will destroy besides your own. Not only your family's lives, but the lives of all of the family members of the people that you killed because you decided to drink and drive. That's what we should be concentrating on as a nation, is what can we do to get it through some of the thick skulls out there that drinking and driving is just not a very, very good idea. Because nobody wins. I made this video like 5,000 hours long already, ladies and gentlemen. Having said that, thank you very much for joining in. All right, I hope that you have a great week, rest of your week. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to support yourself and this channel by preparing with companies that I like and trust, then please consider taking a look at the links within the description of my videos. There you will find anything from long-term food storage like nutrient survival, how to protect your wealth by getting a free consultation with ITM Trading or Genesis Gold Group, emergency antibiotics that you can acquire legally, and power generation in the case of a grid down scenario. These are all companies that I trust and whose products I believe in.